Aloha gang, Dr. Russ Rosen here. Welcome to the OHC Community Masterclass. I'm going to go ahead and type. Where can I type? I can write a comment right there. Let me know if you are out there live. Okay, and hopefully I'll see that. All right, so this is a fun one. I really enjoy this particular concept. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a situation with a patient where they said something to you, or they asked a question, or they made a comment that either you didn't know how to handle or really frustrated you, and you recognized that, wow, I didn't really handle that well? In fact, has that ever happened to you where you recognize you actually ruined the relationship with them? Now, most of us recognize that has happened. If we happen to be a high D or a driver, many of us don't recognize that. Many of us do it all the time. We ruin relationships all the time. We just don't recognize that we do it. I happen to be a high D, um, and a high I. So the reality is, most of us, look, if you've been in the game for any period of time, you definitely have situations that can be a bit charged. And I want to know how to handle them. Have you ever had a situation where you were listening to a staff member have a conversation with a patient and it made you cringe? This is all about how to handle difficult questions, difficult comments, and challenging patients. Now, what I want to do is we're going to go back to a concept that we spoke about several months ago, which is what most, let me see this, action needed. Keyframe is too low, recommended keyframe. I have no idea about keyframes, so hopefully this is going to work. All right. Um, we said that our communications are based on the neuroscience of communications and laser. Listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. That's what it's based on. So we're going to look at that in relationship to difficult questions, comments, people, etc. So we're just as a quick overview, a reminder, why do we listen? Sure. So number one, we know what they're talking about. And number two, what? So they feel heard, right? If they don't feel heard, we end up having a real challenge, a real problem. Acknowledge. Why do we acknowledge? Well, again, I want them to feel heard. And oftentimes, in a challenging, charged situation, it de escalates the situation, right? Boy, I certainly understand how you feel that way, and I would feel that way too. De escalates the situation, right? So listen, acknowledge, ask. Why are we asking? Well, we're asking clarifying questions to get them to think in a different way. We're also asking because in the neuroscience of communication, we recognize to get our information past the reptilian brain of the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving, if we ask Socratic questions: who, what, why, where, when, how, what do you think about that? Why do you think that is? Any of those kinds of questions, it will cause them to send the information up to the neocortex for thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. It'll drop into the limbic system as a new belief system. So we're asking clarifying questions to get them to think. Now, am I asking questions to manipulate them and paint them into a corner? No, I'm not. I'm actually asking them clarifying questions to find out what their truth is, whether they want to continue to work with me, whether they're happy with care, whether they did want to refer a family member, and etc. I'm not trying to make them do things that they don't want to do. I'm trying to support them to do things that they do want to do. So I'm asking clarifying questions to help them recognize a new perspective or a new truth. Solution. We want to find a solution to their problem. Now, The last piece is resolution. And people ask me all the time, well, what's the difference between solution and resolution? Solution is I come up with a solution for you. You may not be happy with that solution, so it's not resolution. I think you need to stay at 3 times a week. And I'm telling you, as your doctor, stay at 3 times a week. Well, that may not be resolution. And they may just shake their head and then leave and never come back. So I want to be able to ask clarifying questions about what is it that they want and what would happen if we were at 3 times a week, or what would happen if we went down to 2 times a week, and would they be happy with that? And right, there's all kinds of Socratic clarifying questions that I'm going to ask to help us find a solution that we both feel good about, which is a resolution. Okay, now that's how we use laser. Listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, and resolution. Now, this is a formula for using that. Before I go ahead and I start listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution, I need to ask myself these particular questions. Number one, I'm going to do a temperature reading. So my doctor says that I should stop seeing you and see a real doctor. Right? You can feel the temperature coming up. You can feel you coming to a boiling point. You can feel yourself getting angry. And my experience is when I'm in that place of anger or frustration or victimhood, etc., the discussion I'm about to have rarely, if ever, works, and I almost always regret it. So step one, I'm going to check my temperature reading, and if I'm upset, I'm not going to have the conversation right now. I might excuse myself for a moment. I have all kinds of different things that I do, breathing and blah, blah. But I'm going to do whatever I have to do to find my center, or I'm not having the conversation. I'll do whatever I have to do. Okay, give me a minute. I'll be back. Hey, listen, this is really important. I need to give it the time that it's due, but I don't want to make everybody else run late for the day. Can I call you later tonight, and we'll take care of this? Like whatever it takes, but don't have the conversation if you're frustrated, pissed off, angry, etc. Okay, number two, ask yourself what a classic blunder would be. Somebody says, can I go down to 2 times a week? My doctor said I should go see a physical therapist. The assertives, we have assertives and non-assertives, high D's and low D's, drivers and low drivers. The assertives will more often than not get angry, and they'll render themselves offensive. We get offensive. We offend people. We're the last ones to know it. Everybody else around us knows we do it, but we don't, because we're just telling it like it is. I was just telling it like it is, right? Well, that's offensive. I've done a whole lot of that in my life. Then there's the non-assertives, and the non-assertives do what I call joining the okay corral. The non-assertives go, oh, okay, and they don't ever challenge anything. And they go home with their tail between their legs, and they feel horrible that they didn't say anything, and they feel victimized. Neither of these work. So recognize which one you lean towards, and don't allow yourself to do a classic blunder. Number three, ask yourself what the implied message could be. So listen, could you just adjust my low back today? What could be the implied message there? Think about it. What might they be saying? Well, they might be saying, you hurt my neck last time, so only adjust my low back today. They could be saying, my low back is really sore. Could you adjust my low back? They could be saying all kinds of different things, but until you ask, you don't know. Listen, acknowledge, ask clarifying questions to find out the truth. Okay? So one of the easy things that we can do is just simply say, sure, what do you ask? Now, I may not do what they asked for, right? Could you just adjust my low back? I may not do that. I may recognize today when I check your system, I need to adjust your pinky toe. But I'm just going to acknowledge that. I'm just going to acknowledge, ask. Sure. Just de-escalates the situation. What do you ask? Well, blah, blah, blah. Now I can use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. Okay. Then you have to ask yourself this. What is your truth? What is it that you want to say? I'm happy to just adjust your low back today. No, I would need to do an evaluation to see what we really need to adjust today. If I did hurt you last time, if they were to say, look, you hurt me last time, we need to use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution to handle that. Okay? So you've got to get clear about what is your truth. Well, my real doctor said I should see a physical therapist. Do you think I should see a physical therapist? What's your truth? Sure, there's all kinds of wonderful physical therapists. Some do this kind of stuff, which I'm not real fond of. Some do this kind of stuff, which I'm really fond of. I have people I can refer you to if you like. Or all physical therapists are the devil, right? Clearly, I don't think that, but if that's your truth, right, you've got to get clear about what your truth is. So when you start to use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, and resolution, you can ask the clarifying questions to help find the truths that you want to get to. But if you don't know where you want to get to, you're going to have a problem getting there. So the formula is start with the temperature reading. If you're pissed off, if you're frustrated, if you're feeling victimized, don't have the conversation. Look at your classic blunder. I'm an assertive. I offend people. I'm a non-assertive. I just join the okay corral and say okay. Ask yourself, what is the implied message? What do I think they're possibly really saying? The subtext. And then recognize no matter what, you don't have a crystal ball. No matter how good you think you are at figuring this stuff out, you're probably wrong. And if you're not, at least let's find out. So ask. There's only one way to know, and that's to ask. And then be clear about what your truth is. And once you're clear about these steps, you can now use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, and resolution. Let me give you some examples. Boy, I got to tell you, that's just too expensive. Do you feel your blood boil? What might an assertive say? Are you kidding? Do you know how many years of school I went to? Do you know how much debt I went into while you were out partying and screwing around with your friends making money and I was sitting in school? Are you kidding? If you don't get this taken care of, you're going to die a slow, miserable death. Right? Is that a great way to start off a conversation? Probably not, but those are things that us assertives can find ourselves when we're angry enough to say. What would a non-assertive say? Well, that's too expensive. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Maybe we could make it less expensive. Maybe I could come to your house and do your toilets and clean your windows. Right? Like if you find yourself being one of those, and I'm obviously playing with this, but if you find yourself, don't do that. Use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. Listen, I don't have the time. There's no way I can come in that often. Assertive blunder. You can't afford not to. Are you kidding yourself? This thing is going to progressively worsen. What's it going to be like then? Now, is that true? Yes, but is that a way to say it and actually be heard? Probably not. Again, the non-assertive is, oh, okay, well, how much could you come in? All right, well, that'll be enough. And we'll still really be able to help you. Like, yeah, I was saying it was 3 times a week for this 2 months to get up to this level. And you could certainly come in once a month and I'll still get you there. Liar. It's not true. That's not how it works, right? We got to be able to find truth. Okay. I don't think this is working. Can you feel it? Can you feel your adrenals squirting? Like, what are you talking about? This is getting better. That's getting better. Like, your elbow still hurts a bit, but your 30 years of headaches are gone. What's wrong with you? Assertive, non-assertive. Oh, I'm so sorry. I guess you'll probably just have to stop coming in now. Right? Like, these are things that we do. Knock it off. Take the steps, listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, resolution. Look, I only want to get to a +4. I don't want to get to a +10. Assertive, what's wrong with you? Non-assertive, okay. Um, I think it's only going to take 2 weeks to get there. Assertive, dude, are you kidding me? You've done crack cocaine, you were sold to the circus and raised by wolves, you're 400 pounds overweight, and you think this is going to get better in 2 weeks? You're kidding yourself, you fat shit. Right? Like, those are the kinds of energy that we'll come up with when we're assertives and we're not in our center. Of course, the non assertives just say, okay, last time you hurt me, doc. No, I didn't. Great way to start off that conversation. Oh, shoot, I'm so sorry. We got to learn how to have these conversations. So, could these adjustments, this is one of my favorites, could these adjustments be causing me to feel lightheaded or dizzy? Uh, yes. Oh, drag, because my uncle is a neurologist. He was saying you chiropractors kill people. And one of the signs and symptoms I should be afraid of is that I start to feel this lightheadedness or this kind of dizziness. Are you glad you said yes? Or you say no. No, it couldn't cause it. Too bad, because when I get adjusted by you, I feel myself start to leave my body and connect with the Akashic records and God Almighty. Are you glad you said no? No. A great question is really good question. Why do you ask? Right? Really good question. Why do we ask? So, again, these are the things: temperature reading, classic blunder, implied message. What is your truth? Now use listen, acknowledge, ask, solution, and resolution. This week in the club, we're going to go over this information, and then I'm going to actually ask each and every one of you, what are the ones you have problems with? What are the challenges you have? And I'll walk you through this process. I'll drag it out of you. This is a great one to bring your team to, because we can have your team members. What are the ones you hear? How can we handle those in ways that work? And then I'll give you a document. I've written out my 32 favorite challenging statements, difficult kind of things that we run through with our patients, and I've given my ways of handling those in great detail. So if you feel that that would be interesting for you, go ahead and just put in the comment section club, and I'll go ahead and I'll give you a free month into the club, and you can come. It'll be this Thursday, 11 o'clock California time. And if you found value in this, please comment, let me know. If you have any questions, please comment, let me know. Next week is an off week because it's Thanksgiving. And then we're going to be diving into team. We're going to dive into getting our team. How do we get our team to grow the practice? How do we get them philosophically on board? How do we find out if they actually want to grow the practice, or if they're actually dragging their feet to keep us from growing our practice? And then how do we set and achieve meaningful objectives? So those are things that we'll be doing next time. So again, if you would like to jump into the club for this Thursday or get the recording of that, put club in the comment section below, and I'll give you a free month in there. As always, much love and aloha. Bye, gang.